Episodes, we talked about emotional barriers that might prevent someone from living a sustainable lifestyle, green marketing practices that shamed them into believing they were solely responsible for the ecological destruction of the planet and made them angry or frustrated, constant exposure to negative press surrounding the discussion of climate change that drove them to despair and hopelessness to the point of doomerism. While the reasoning behind these feelings may be faulty, ultimately they are valid and understandable and able to be empathized with. Today, however, we're going to be diving into a much more concrete barrier to living a sustainable life. It's just more expensive, isn't it? Think about it. Organic food costs more than factory processed food. It's cheaper to buy a gas guzzling secondhand car than it is to make the switch to electric or hybrid. It's more cost effective in the short term to buy bottled water than instead of buying a reusable bottle. Quite frankly, it's more often convenient too. So, what am I trying to say? Are people just cheapskates that won't spend money to save the world? Are they choosing convenience over sustainability? Are they selfish? Well, let's hear an excerpt.
I wish I could. I really do. But there's just so much to worry about. You know, since I finished my diploma, I've been busy with work, and even like financially, I don't get paid that much. It barely covers my daily expenses, and I have to provide for my parents. I just feel like I don't have enough time or money to go green.
It's no secret, the world is in a bit of an economic downturn at the moment. Inflation has steadily increased over the years, and along with it, the cost of goods. Even if we isolate that just to Malaysia, the average Malaysian spends 4.4 times more on amenities, 2.8 times more on food and groceries, and 4.4 times more on health related purchases. Those statistics don't look great, and similar trends are happening across the globe, and people worldwide are feeling their impact. And the recent pandemic hasn't done much to dampen that effect. With the outbreak of COVID 19, entire industries came grinding to a halt, sending businesses around the globe into bankruptcy and costing thousands of people their jobs and their livelihoods. All industries were heavily affected, especially those in the tourism sectors, food and drink, hospitality. They even shut down my favorite cafe. Rest in peace, Apple Zone. You will be missed. I once heard a baker talk about the virtues of factory made white bread. He never degraded it, never insulted it, never called it an inferior product to the loaves that he baked himself very lovingly in his own bakery. He never said that it tasted bad or was unfit for consumption, and the reason he didn't say anything bad about it was this: that bread has saved millions of lives, millions of people from starvation all around the globe. And it's all well and good for the upper middle class to extol the virtues of living sustainably. Activism is particularly alive if you check the statistics in those kinds of tax brackets: middle, upper class, upper middle class to mid upper class, especially around people who are university educated students, those kinds of things. And that's something that should be celebrated, I think, and should be praised, of course. People going out there and doing what's best for the environment. I'm not saying they should stop, but I do think it's a bit high and mighty and kind of tone deaf to tell people whose main concern is putting food on the table for them and theirs to adopt that kind of lifestyle. Someone's described it to me like this: there is no market for junk. Nobody goes out of their way to buy plastic bottles and throw them in the ocean. Nobody goes out of their way to buy cheap electronics that need to be replaced every 2 weeks. Nobody goes out of their way to buy unhealthy food that's going to make them feel awful, quite frankly. But there is a market to stay alive, and there is a market to experience life to the best of one's capabilities and have some measure of creature comfort, even if they are low quality knockoffs. And that's an easy way of saying sustainable living isn't going to be feasible for a lot of people until it becomes affordable. Until then, mass produced, environmentally detrimental, factory made products are just going to be the norm for most people, and that's just the reality of the situation. Because if white bread didn't exist, millions of people would go hungry. That's not to say there aren't people capable of living a sustainable life who just refuse to. Like, if you can't afford to buy an electric car or go on public transport, for example, and you still insist on having a 1970s Ford Mustang as your daily driver, then quite simply, you are just being selfish. Immoral, even, there's an argument to be made there. But the point I'm trying to make is that the onus to act more responsible and implement greener practices is not on the factory workers getting paid minimum wage. It's on the multi-billion-dollar companies earning hundreds of millions of dollars of annual revenue that employ them. Those are the people who should be taking responsibility for the way that they produce their products, the way those products affect the environment, and researching and developing new techniques and new procedures in order to make products that are affordable as well as they are green. Thank you for listening.